Have you ever wondered what the best way to transport your coffee overseas is? Coffee can be a volatile product, easily affected by temperature, light, and even pressure. So I was lucky enough to go to New York last week, and I wanted to run a bit of a test. So I packaged the same coffee 4 different ways. So I've got 250 grams in each one of these bags, and the only differences here are the way that I packaged it. This coffee is a beautiful Kenyan. It's a washed coffee with lots of citric and floral notes. And I find these coffees the most easily impacted by airplane travel. Okay, with the first coffee, we've just left the valve open. So I haven't done anything to this one. It's 250 grams with a one-way valve. Some negatives with this being on the aeroplane is it fills up like a bag of chips. So it gets really puffy. And then when the aeroplane comes down, it pushes all that air out. So it can look like it's vacuum sealed after it's done. So it goes through a lot of different pressure changes. Number 2 is vacuum sealing. We've already opened this one, so it's not vacuum sealed anymore. But some positives with this is it doesn't really change pressure when we take it up into the aeroplane and stays very stable. Some negatives is when we're vacuum sealing it, it's taking a lot of the volatile aromatics out. And sometimes I can feel like that can have a bit of an impact on the coffee's flavor. Now, number 3 is with the valve closed. So we've just put a bit of tape across that one-way valve, and it's a very common method to use within the industry. What this does is basically maintain the pressure on the inside and the outside the same as it would be on the ground or up in the aeroplane. So this one fills up like a bag of chips. This one does a little bit, but when it comes back down, it maintains the same pressure as when we left to take off on the aeroplane. Now, number 4 is my favorite method and is what I use for competition. So I've placed an inert gas in this bag called Argon. I've used the same method here. So I've taped the valve before I leave. I flush it full of Argon. Then I seal that one-way valve with that bit of tape and I land and then I take it off. So these are the 4 methods that I'm going to cup today and test and give you my feedback. I'm going to score them sort of, I guess, on acid, complexity, and vibrancy. Because that's what I feel like is sort of the detriment to the coffees when we travel with them on the aeroplane. Another consideration that I take on when I'm competing or traveling with coffee is whether it's in the carry-on or whether it's underneath in the cabin hold of the aeroplane. I used to think there was a little bit of a difference, but having asked a few sort of airline pilots and people that know planes really well, the pressure is actually the same whether we're a passenger or it's stored underneath with all the bags. So no big differences there. And when I've trialed both, I haven't really noticed a big difference. Okay, so I've just cupped the coffees and some interesting results. So I'll start off with just recapping what they are. So this is with the valve open, like a normal bag of coffee. Number 2 is a vacuum seal coffee. Number 3 is a normal bag of coffee with the valve closed with tape and then taken off once we land. And number 4 is with Argon with the same method with that tape across the one-way valve and then taken off. So starting off with my least favorite, and that would be when I did nothing to it. So just a normal bag with the regular valve. This tastes like the coffee is considerably older than the rest, which is very interesting. The bitterness is a lot higher than the rest, and it sits on the back of the palate, and it's not a pleasant aftertaste comparatively to the other coffees on the table. Number 3 was the vacuum sealed bag. I'm not sure whether it was just the vacuum process where it took those volatile aromatics out quite early on, but again, in a similar vein to this first one, a little more balanced, didn't have that sort of that displeasant aftertaste sitting on the back of the palate. However, the acid was quite low. My second favorite coffee was this one here, where the valve was taped closed and then taken off. It sort of just tastes like it didn't go through any transportation, to be honest. The coffee is about 4 weeks old and that's sort of where it tastes, and that's sort of what I would expect from this coffee. My favorite coffee on the table was with the Argon. No surprise for me, this is what I've been using for barista competition for a number of years, and my favorite method of transportation with coffee. This is just, the acid is so much more complex. I wouldn't say it's higher than the rest of the coffees on the table, but it's complex and it's of a higher quality of acid. The bitterness it's still present. There's bitterness in all cups, but this is the most balanced in comparative to the sweetness, the acid, and the overall flavor profile of the actual coffee. So this is definitely my favorite. So if I'm going to be transporting coffee anywhere in the world and I want it to be to its absolute peak, I'm going to be flushing these coffees with Argon.